Hi everyone, welcome to the Whiteleyverse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily short story. Now, before I start today's story, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this short story and any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers and at your local bookstore and local library if you requested, and you can order paperback copies from Amazon. Now, here's today's short story. I hope you enjoyed just as much as I did writing it.
Cobwebs at Christmas. Stephen Mullet had always loved Christmas. He loved the food, the great presents, and the chance to see his entire family again was his favorite part of Christmas, as well as all the cute little traditions that his family had developed over the years. But he was certain one tradition had been ruined forever, or at least changed forever. On Christmas morning, whilst his mum and dad were in bed snoring, with each snort rattling the entire dirty white former council estate, he had sneaked downstairs to make sure everything was perfect for his family. He might have been 18 as of last week, but he just wanted everything to be perfect for his family. His brother, Luke, and little sister Lucy had had enough of a rough year with bullying at their new school. So, if he could make their lives better for a single day, then he was going to. What the hell is this? Stephen asked himself. He folded his arms as he stared at the massive pile of cobwebs on their chipped, dented light wooden coffee table covering the copper plate where Santa's cookies were meant to be. There was nothing else wrong with the wonderfully Christmassy living room. The dirty white walls were still painted in drawings of reindeer, Santa, and elves that Lucy and Luke had drawn at school a few years ago. They were still as ugly as ever, but he supposed there was a certain Christmas charm to them. The drawings were in perfect condition. Even the massive Christmas tree covered in metallic blue, copper, and hot pink tinsel, wrapped round it so tight that the tree would be choking if it was still alive, was in good condition. Not a single red, green, or blue bauble had been touched. And the little present-shaped lights were still working, and cobweb-free. It was only the coffee table that was covered in cobwebs, and Santa's cookies were gone. At least the entire living room still smelt heavenly of mulled wine, refreshing orange zest, and warming ginger. It was so weird, so strange, and so like Hell's Place for this to happen. Stephen had never really wanted to live here because Hell's Place was weird. People were always disappearing, and if something could go wrong, then it would. Stephen just wanted to make sure that Christmas didn't go wrong for Luke and Lucy. It was the least he could do for them, considering they had treated him like a blood brother, instead of a care-experienced kid that other children in homes had done. He needed them to have a good Christmas. He went into the kitchen, grabbed a bunch of paper towels, and he wiped up the cobwebs. Yet these cobwebs were wet, sticky, and he coughed at the overwhelming aroma of sweet pecan pie filling the living room. "It's Christmas!" Luke shouted as he ran down the stairs with Lucy and their parents close behind. Stephen cleaned up the mess as best he could, and he made sure everything was perfect. So he binned the paper towels and made sure no one knew anything about the possible disaster. "Look, Steve," Luke said, grabbing him by the hand. "Santa ate his cookies." "He sure did, Luke." Stephen noticed his parents were looking at each other weirdly, and he later found out that the cobwebs had been eating all the Christmas food in the house lately. Next year, Stephen was determined to find out what happened to the Christmas cookies, even if it was the last thing he ever did. Knowing Hell's Place, it very well could be the last thing he ever did. Next Christmas Eve, Stephen had hugged his mum and dad tight as he put them to bed, as dad couldn't look after himself after a nasty fall earlier in the year on their holiday to Cornwall. Mum was too exhausted from all the cooking, preparing and psyching herself up for tomorrow, with her sister and her 10 children coming round. Stephen couldn't blame her in the slightest for wanting an early night. So he had watched silly kids' Christmas films with Luke and Lucy. He had read them a few Christmas stories and hugged them as he tucked them into bed. The strong smell of refreshing orange zest, ginger, and lemongrass filled their bedroom from a candle he had given them a few days before, and now he had to get his plan into action. With everyone asleep, he had called his beautiful, sexy boyfriend Oscar on a video call, and they had spent a few great hours talking, catching up and making plans for the new year together. All Stephen wanted to do was stay up so he could see the spiders or whatever was devouring the cookies and leaving the cobwebs behind. He enjoyed his massive half-a-liter mug of velvety sweet hot chocolate on the uncomfortably hard red sofas that his parents had got from an estate sale a few weeks before. He had hoped they would become more comfortable, but he was so wrong about that. The hot chocolate tasted amazing as he listened to his beautiful boyfriend talk about his Christmas traditions, like his mum's French Christmas dinner was stunning, and he was looking forward to his dad's British Christmas dinner tomorrow. Stephen really wanted to go up to Oscar's for Christmas in the future, but right now, he had to make sure Christmas was perfect for his own family. At least Luke and Lucy had had a better year at school this year, but they were worried about their dad. They knew something was wrong with Mum's job because there would be a lot less presents this year, and they were starting to worry why the Christmas food was disappearing. And why there were more and more cobwebs in the house. Stephen had tried to comfort them, but he had to make sure that Christmas wasn't ruined for them, because he just couldn't live with himself if that happened. "Babe, what cookies have you got Santa this year?" Oscar asked. "My sister put out nutmeg." Stephen nodded. He had tried Oscar's nutmeg cookies, and they were amazing. There were so many great layers of flavor with hints of nutmeg, ginger, and cinnamon that melted into buttery deliciousness on the tongue and then popped with refreshing apple and lemon. Santa was in for a treat this year. Luke and Lucy put out oatmeal cookies because the oats help Santa out after a long night. They think his digestive system needs fiber. Oscar laughed, and Stephen flat out loved his musical laughter that he was never going to get tired of hearing. "I need to go now, babe. Happy Christmas. I love you and see you in the new year at uni." "I love you too." As soon as Stephen hung up, the overwhelming aroma of sweet pecan pie filled the living room, and Stephen's world went black. He had failed another year, so he was going to have to get more dramatic next year to catch what the hell was going on. After an awful year with their dad dying, Mum needing carers, and Luke and Lucy needing more joy than ever, Stephen hugged Oscar's warm, fit, amazing body close to him as they both lay on the very comfortable white sofas with perfect lumbar support. They were both going to catch these cobweb eaters this year. Stephen was still amazed that Oscar believed him when he had told him about the cobwebs. He was expecting Oscar to break up with him, berate him, and make him out to be the university nutcase. But apparently Oscar had heard a lot about Hell's Place, so he was going to stay tonight on Christmas Eve and watch the delicious nutmeg cookies with him. The living room smelt incredible, with rich, velvety salted caramel hot chocolate, ground ginger and refreshing orange filling the entire room. Of course, Stephen had wanted to take no chances this year with his setup, so he had pulled out all the stops. He had saved up and brought a bunch of cameras, spy gear, and thermal imaging equipment. It was all recording and being saved to 3 different systems. A hard drive in the house, the cloud, and the hard drive that Oscar's family had at their house in the Midlands. This was going to be foolproof, and finally he could understand who the hell was eating the Christmas cookies and leaving cobwebs everywhere. All the cameras and equipment were carefully hidden amongst the Christmas decorations. There were small cameras hiding in the tall tree with the bright hot pink, metallic blue and copper tinsel wrapped around the wires for better hiding. There were small cameras just behind Luke's and Lucy's ugly Christmas drawings that were starting to rip, get damp, and fall away because they were so old. And the coffee table was still covered in red and green tinsel, and the copper plate of Santa's cookies. The copper plate was even on top of a pressure plate that would make a massive noise, so they would both be woken up if someone touched the plate. It was foolproof. He had even got as far as rubbing vapor rub under his and Oscar's noses, so they wouldn't be impacted by the sweet pecan pie smell that knocked him out last year. "I'm glad I didn't tell my parents why I was coming down here," Oscar said. Stephen laughed and gently ran his fingers through Oscar's thick blonde hair. He probably loved Oscar, and he was the luckiest man alive to still have him in his life after the past 2 years with everything going on with Mom and Dad. "Who do you think is?" Oscar asked. Stephen placed a finger on his soft lips as the clock struck midnight and a small group of red, green, and metallic blue spiders, the size of reindeer, appeared in front of them. The smell of sweet pecan pie was faint, but Stephen could feel the pull of sleep, and he could hear the constant static of all his high-tech equipment. He hugged Oscar tighter as Oscar gasped, and the spiders just looked at them both with their massive 8 terrifying eyes. They flashed their fangs, cobwebs dripped from their open mouths, and then a single tongue, the thickness of a human arm, reached down towards the cookies. The tongues moved like snakes, sniffing the air, and Stephen could have sworn the spiders were almost smiling, like this batch were some of the best cookies they were ever going to have. Maybe they were right, and maybe this was true. The tongues separated at the end to reveal human-like fingers that dripped cobwebs onto the coffee plate, and they looked at Stephen and Oscar as their tongues pressed down on the pressure plate. None of the high-tech equipment was working at all. Stephen hated wasting all that money. He just hoped most of the companies took refunds. Then the human-like fingers wrapped themselves around the cookies, and the spiders chomped on them. The spiders groaned, moaned, and hummed in pleasure so loudly that he was scared that Luke and Lucy were going to wake up. "Thank you. Merry Christmas," the spiders said as one. "You are the first humans in 500 years to see the Santa Vanguard in action. Checking that houses are safe for the big guy since 1241. Then the smallest spider crawled forward. "God bless you, everyone." Stephen and Oscar laughed, and all the massive spiders disappeared, and the couple just looked at each other. And all the static was gone, so all the high-tech equipment was working again. Stephen hugged Oscar tight and enjoyed running his fingers through his boyfriend's thick blonde hair, and the sweet aroma of ginger, oranges, and velvety hot chocolate was still amazing. "I don't think anyone would believe us if we told them," Oscar said. "Maybe tell it to the kids as a Christmas story?" Stephen shrugged. "Fair enough, but you know what? I'm not surprised this happened. This is Hell's Place after all." As the loving couple downed the sweet, most amazing, and tantalizing hot chocolate Stephen had ever had the pleasure of tasting, he carried the man he loved in his arms up the stairs towards their bedroom for a bit of Christmas fun, and Stephen was so looking forward to the future. Sure, Hell's Place was a weird, wacky, and utterly chaotic former council estate where magic, myth, and weirdness collided in spectacular fashion, but he actually didn't want to leave just yet. He was still at university, he still had Oscar in his life, and whilst they would get married and live together eventually, a few more Christmases in Hell's Place wouldn't be so bad. Especially if he got to see the Santa Vanguard every year, and the cobwebs at Christmas might just well be an exciting new tradition. A very Hell's Place tradition, if there ever was one.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story, because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you really enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers, and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help us spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the Whiteleyverse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.